Okay, I'm going to be arse blasting these videos out. I have so much to catch up on. So the next story, well, I mean, just a little one. Remake Intergrade. Nomura's come out. He's given us a little bit more detail why he's picked Yuffie for this episode. And it's actually quite interesting. He says that it's because Vincent is still in his slumber and Sid is on Shinra's side. That's curious to me. Vincent is still in slumber because, of course, we have deviated so far from the original story. Fate and destiny and potentially like a re-happening or some sort of alternate timeline or, gradients of depth from the live stream, whatever you want to call it. And I've kind of been thinking, if Vincent is in his slumber and the terror corrupt on the planet is so much stronger, like, he could be doing stuff in his slumber that works on like a really crazy but important metaphysical level that we have never seen with Vincent before. Because Vincent in OG, like, he was a non-player, he was a optional character. And he was always just kind of shoehorned in. He didn't really have a specific role or a specific purpose. I can see that changing so much. I think Vince is going to be huge in this game. If you've not seen my Vincent theory on why, check it out. But yeah, he also says why he's picked Yuffie, because she's available. She uses a shuriken because it's super powerful. I do not have a PS5, so I'm not even going to be playing this. But this kind of lays exactly what I was saying about Yuffie. That when discussing a character in 97, Nomura described her as energetic and straightforward character. However, as intermission is going to be focused on her instead of having her as a side character, I believe we're also able to depict her sensitive side. I believe that you'll be able to get closer to Yuffie than usual. Exactly what I was laying out. That we're going to get really dark and we're going to see dynamics of Yuffie that, again, because she was optional in the first game, we just did not see. And so many people disagreed about making Yuffie's character dark or angsty or super involved. Some people like her kind of whimsical, standoffish involvement in FF7. She's just doing it for materia. She just wants them big, shiny orbs. And she kind of just presents herself the whole game as a self-absorbed, selfish brat. But I could just see that this was always going to change. And Nomura's kind of confirmed it there. But the main thing I wanted to cover in this video, man, so I only saw a whiff of this, but I saw Final Fantasy Souls game Final Fantasy rumour. This flicked into my purview for a brief second. And so my initial reaction to that, a Souls-like FF. So for the longest of times, you guys know, I've said that FF should go M-rated, that fans are hankering and craving for a darker vibe FF. And we've got Final Fantasy 16 for that now. I fully believe that 16 is going to fill that gap. Being kind of dark, but still having the whole character development, the journey, hopefully the spatterings of humour and endearment thrown in. Not overly dark, but if there was to be a purely Souls FF, for a start, I don't think it would work in terms if it was just like Souls. It was just purely a mechanical game with tidbits of story that you have to puzzle together, and you never will. You'll always watch a YouTube video of someone puzzling it together for you. But I think this is a follow-on from that story we heard. Yes, that was it. Weird arrangement. Am I getting this right? Was this Team Ninja? Basically, let me know if I got this wrong, but there was a story that Square Enix games were going to be... Hello! Hello, doggies! Little Yuna! Hey! So, yes, Yuna, I think there was a story that there was going to be a team picking up some Square Enix games, and the arrangement was weird. They were going to be purely in creative control of... She wants to go. Go on, do the squirm. Do the squirm. Do the squirm. Come on, man. I'm trying to cover Souls Final Fantasy story. That might be a pure rumour and totally not true. But yeah, there was a team that they were going to be in full creative control of some old Square Enix games, and they were going to take 50% cut of the profits made from it. They had to develop it, fund the costs for rollout, advertisement, the whole shebang. Square Enix were just going to take 50% of their money from it. Now, of course, when it's Final Fantasy, us fans are kind of very touchy in terms of how our projects are handled, but on face value, if this team can do it right, I like the idea. I've always called for more mid-range games, mid-range development. we get some more juicy games out. Final Fantasy really doesn't have to be as AAA. Pushing the next frontier of graphical fidelity. And I know in history, Final Fantasy has been that, like 7 and 6, you know, like having the first like horizontal and vertical cross axes that gave like a 3-dimensional depth, or like a much better one. Like FF has always been the frontier of tech, but I feel like now we're in a different era, and I feel like it's a bad competition for Square Enix to keep throwing themselves into again and again, especially when they've got these really multi-billion fleshed out like engines, like the Resi engines and whatnot. And Square, when they created Luminous, they were saying it's because we want an engine that can compete with the West. Now, Forspoken might show to us that it's worked, but we all know with 15 the price that graphical fidelity came at. So I like this idea on face value, but let's go into it. Team Ninja, yeah, they were the ones who did Dissidia. So actually thinking about it, maybe that wasn't the team who were going to be taking 50% cuts. I don't know, I'm so professional. But RPG fans are going to be in for a ride as an unlikely combination between the venerable Final Fantasy franchise and brutally punishing Soul series is apparently being developed. Final Fantasy is no stranger to getting spin-off games. Let's get straight to where this came from. Was it Fanbyte? Fanbyte. Is this where it first emerged? Swirled around E3 announcements. Wow, they think that this is going to be getting shown at E3. So man, we know that Square Enix are really bringing something this E3. Something. In the last 4 or 5 years, Square Enix have never been this. We come into E3. They've always been like, we'll be there. They're putting an ambiguous Twitter post, and you can just kind of vibe when there's like, you don't really have that much to show, do you? You know when Square Enix are going to be bringing the cannons, and everything is teeing up that this E3 is going to be huge for Square Enix. I always kind of thought like Forspoken and 16, but maybe we will get something completely new. Oh man. And yeah, as far as like Souls difficulty in FF, love it. Type 0 is my favorite game for difficulty because it has that complex arrangement of difficulty levels. You had like Lassie, you had like Falsy, hard, medium. There was like 5 difficulty levels, and I've always been annoyed that we've not had that in the last few like main FF games. Like Final Fantasy 13 only went up to easy or medium. There was no hard, and it showed in the game. It just wasn't difficult enough. FF15, I didn't die once. I mean, the only time I died was when I crashed the Regalia, and that's wrong. Final Fantasy is supposed to make you suffer. So the idea of a Souls-like Final Fantasy that does bring that suffering, I like it. I remember the old FF days, like FF4. I hear 3 is like super savage. Like you could get thrown into these like dungeons that just sucked the soul out of your body. Like death doors that would just nommel your phoenix downs, and you'd really be clenching your butty to have items and a stock of resources and potions, and it really felt like you were trying to survive through this thing, and you got like that real sense of achievement when you did it, and that's been missing in FF for a while, in my opinion. So bring it on. The rumour states that Square Enix is working with Team Ninja, Koei Tecmo's in-house development team. So this rumour is coming from Reddit and Resetera about a new Final Fantasy spin-off. Team Ninja, Koei Tecmo's game, they did Neo, Dissidia. They posted rumours go on further by assigning the game a genre, something akin to Neo or the Souls, and suggesting it takes place somewhere or adjacent to the world of the first Final Fantasy game on the NES. Our sources have corroborated this rumour and suggest the name of the game is Final Fantasy Origin. Wait, as in like Final Fantasy Origins? Because that was a dual package that had both 1 and 2. I think when they like first kind of bundled it to the West. That was the first time they realised how much money they could make bundling shit together. Man, this would be exactly what my boy Dabber. This is what he wanted. He wanted to either work on a Type Next, like a Type 0 franchise that ran alongside Final Fantasy. If he couldn't do that, he said the next thing he wanted was an FF1 remake. And that apparently, and this was years back, he had been discussing it with people and they'd been up for it. Whoa! Well, and if it is the first Final Fantasy, this would kind of work. Because I remember when that story came out, I was thinking, how could they do like the first Final Fantasy as a remake? Because you'd have to basically build the story from the ground up. The plot is obviously so simplistic, so simplified. The dialogue in no way would translate into a game. Like, no, Final Fantasy 7 was pretty dynamic in terms of how it portrayed its character and kind of like real, organic. But even then with the remake, they had to do major overhauls to make it like sing and actually come through in the right way. Final Fantasy Origins would need a complete overhaul. But story-wise, like you pretty much need to build something on top of the very basic, oh, God and the Creator was out to mush us. And here we are in this basic like medieval world following this cliche tropey kind of tale. But if they did it as a Souls game, that could work in terms of not needing to develop the story out so massively and do it in kind of like a Souls format, not as scrimpy, but you know what I'm saying? We could have experienced the original Final Fantasy world and have the story portrayed in not an overcomplicated manner, but we still get the real heart and essence of that game. That would be cool. The game, which appears to be exclusive to PS5 with the PC release further down, will be one of Square Enix's tentpoles at their upcoming E3 show. For whatever reason, several large chunks of the undated June show have leaked out. 3 weeks, guys. I think it's 3 weeks to E3. Including the Final Fantasy Origins logo and demo plan, Square Enix hope to release an alpha demo this summer. Not unlike Neo's public alphas, to solicit feedback from the audience. While it's still in the failure state, this demo, like several other major demos, has its own title of Stranger in Paradise. Okay. It's worth mentioning that anything could change before the final show, especially as more things leak in the weeks ahead of E3. So this should not be misconstrued as a guarantee that the game will appear. Still, production and marketing appear to be gearing up for full swing on the title. Whoa, my God. I am going to be streaming this E3. Bring all the buckles, bring all the straps, bring the straight jacket. Oh my God, this is going to be a wild one. If they release a super sexy, dark looking Souls FF, GG, you finished it. And wasn't there the little thing in 14, like the outfits? Were they like Bloodborne or Souls inspired? Like, there's basically people in Square Enix who seem to like Souls. And in terms of what I can kind of assume some people will say about this, especially the noobs who don't like difficult games, they would kind of say like this is just ripping off a very popular genre right now. And I kind of agree in that sense in terms of like First Soldier, like trying to just rip off Apex Legends and Fortnite. And this is why this makes it all the more real to me, is the Square Enix of now are in a new uncertain era where they are trying to gain traction or like a vision of where Final Fantasy as a series should go. And we have seen the difficulty, and we've seen this again and again. We saw it with like 15. They're constantly saying, no, we're trying to evolve Final Fantasy. We're trying to take it in a new direction, because it's been difficult for them to transition out of that turn-based era. You can kind of tell they've had difficulty transitioning, and like they wanted just to go fully action combat with 15 to appeal to the masses. They took the largely linear and wide linear. No Final Fantasy typically has ever been open world. I still don't know why people say 7, 8, and 9 were open world. They were not open world. But of course they brought it for 15 because open world was the thing at the time. Now they bring out First Soldier because battle royales are just the thing of the time right now. Everyone's freaking addicted to them. And now we see it with like 16. They've brought in the Devil May Cry 5 combat director to come and completely bring a new style to Final Fantasy's combat that we have never seen. And I remember him saying like he's been looking at Final Fantasy for years, and in his mind, the DMC5 combat director that is, he always said I could bring Final Fantasy into the new era. Like, he's always had like this firm vision of what they could do. And that's what's brought about this new 16 change in direction that is very, very different to anything we have seen before. And again, just the darker theme of it. So Square Enix really are trying out all these new different like popular elements, and there are sometimes sides to me, especially with like First Soldier, where I'm just like, man, just stop trying to copy all of this other shit. Stop trying to appeal to audiences by just copying and gimmickly mimicking elements from other popular games, because I kind of feel like that's actually made Final Fantasy more unpopular. Like, that's actually turned a lot of people off, and that's why we got some people like, oh, Final Fantasy is not where it used to be, it died after Soft, and I wholly disagree with those statements, but I can see where it's coming from, because I firmly believe if they had just carried on doing what those old Final Fantasies did, you know, amazing amount of cutscene density, just like loads of scenes, loads of dialogues, loads of exploration into the characters, and not just one, not from the POV of one character, from a whole team of them going to all their different origins and, you know, overcoming all these resolutions for all of them. That to me was what made Final Fantasy amazing, the depth and heart that the storytelling had. And I feel like they moved away from that to try to appeal to all these other elements, and it just like landed in a no man's land where it wasn't a masterpiece, and it wasn't absolutely fucking terrible, but it was vanilla. It was the vanilla middle, and I'm hoping that all these little different attempts and evolutions and again, it seems like they're very open to feedback, is going to steer Square Enix in a direction that we fans want. And that's why I think it's good for us as fans to really learn how to articulate what it is we want. I see so many fans with these games where they just rant. They just like to rant and whinge and, oh, this Final Fantasy doesn't make me feel the same way I did when I was 6 and 7, and I never want change. Even though it's one of the most changing and dynamically different FFs. No FF is like the one before, except for the really, really old ones. It is crazy to me how unadaptive and unreceptive to change some FF fans are in an ever-changing franchise. And what I'm getting at is, I guess, is because I saw this with 15, definitely, I saw this with Tablet, is FF fans can be criminal at just splurging the first thing that comes off of their head. Now, there's so many like facepalm reviews I've read over the years. They haven't kind of cognitively dug deeper into like what FF really means to you. What are the elements that you are willing to negotiate on, aren't willing to negotiate on? We've gone way past just the turn-based changing now. No, we're now evolving into the themes of the games maturing, completely new elements and genres of titles. I know back when FF14, or no, FF11 as an MMO came out, oh, that's an MMO. That's not a mainline Final Fantasy. It's not even a Final Fantasy, Mum. Like, we're just graduating out of that phase, and yeah, that's why I really feel like all FF fans are going to be tested. Yeah, going to be pushed. We're going to see this franchise go in all new different directions. I've got to say, on some level, I'm super excited. I am realising how little an FF Puritan I really am. Like, FF7 Remake is no clearer to me than how dramatically they've changed stuff. And that's the stuff I'm leaning into. That's the stuff I'm loving and I'm feeling titillated about. So I'm really not I'm not a Puritan at all. I don't know. Are you? Admit it. Confess. Let me know in the comment section below, how does this story sit with you? A Souls FF. I mean, I'm so eager to play Demon Souls, get a PS5 for that. That Wukong game, done in that Souls fashion. Mamma mia! And I've just done, obviously, Bloodborne and Sekiro playthroughs up. I've just done Dark Souls 1. I'm looking forward to Dark Souls 3. But I'm just excited for a really difficult FF, because we haven't had a really savage one in so freaking long. But there we go, guys. Final Fantasy Origins Souls game. Rumour. This E3. If there's more information on this that I've not covered, go to Night Sky Prince. He's the real professional. And he'll be covering all the nitty-gritties, I'm sure, anyway, I'm assuming, of where this rumour came from and just how credible it is. But honestly, when it comes to rumours, we have had so many be spot on of late. I could see this happening, man. Man, the stage will be set, E3, and you just watch Tabata walk out. You watch Tabata walk out, because he actually just released his Paralympics game that he'd been working on with his own little crew, so that's finished. So, yeah, you watch him return. Return of Tabata, and the Final Fantasy 1 remake that he was proposing 2-3 years ago. Longer. Shit, when was 15? Oh my... 2016. Oh my, it was 5 years ago. FF15, oh where has that time gone? My goodness. Anyway, guys, there we go. That's the story. That's the news. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you for? Are you against? And are there any other kind of game genres or areas that you guys would like Final Fantasy to explore? I really, besides the Souls, because I actually love this idea. I really do. I ain't gonna deny it. I kind of would like more RTS stuff, like the tactics stuff was good. I loved Tactics. I know they brought out the new Tactics one on mobile, and it looks okay. I hear it's a bit of a gacha and whatnot. And just seeing like Fort Condor, like the little RTS we saw in that. I don't know, like a real proper Final Fantasy RTS would be awesome. Like imagine if you actually could control armies or something. You know, we had in Type 0 that little section where you was on like the top-down map and you had like the very basic strategy of holding back the machines and capturing the towns and stuff, but actually on a bigger scale with like monster units like a behemoth. Like you bring out that bad boy, or like some sort of tree end where you've got to guard your crystal while it powers up, and like you can send your chocobo cavalry riders in. Yeah. Or your small army of tomboys, and they can like hide in the brushes, or like cactuars. Yeah, and they'd be like your scouting units, and they'd have like invisibility and stuff. You can like camp them up in the woods behind the enemy's units and flank them with 1,000 needles. And once you've killed a certain number of units, you summon the big boy. You bring out rumour or Ifrit, and they do crazy shit on the battlefield. Like Lord of the Rings RTS, it was like the ring on the map. And like you could get it as like Galadriel and she'd get crazy powerful, or you could be the elves, you could be Mordor. I love that game, and I really think it would work in Final Fantasy were they to branch out into yet again another genre. But there we go, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. What the hell, Kuja? Kuja with a shotgun? Hello. Why's Kuja got a pump action shotgun in a Souls-like environment?